Miller. I just learned that he has an asteroid named after him. So from today on, as I speak to him is about. So our next speaker is Patrick Miller, and he's going to talk to us about the International Astronomical Research Collaboration, the 1,000 goal, the progress report. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with ISAC, International Search for Astronomical Research Collaboration. So let's all settle down and listen to Patrick, and it will be a really good presentation.
All right, thank you, Susan. As Susan pointed out, I want to talk to you today about ISAC, the International Astronomical Research Collaboration. This time last year, I announced our 1,000-school goal, and I'll talk to you about where we stand in terms of reaching that goal, and when I think we're complete reaching that goal, although we've assembled the necessary resources to do that now if we wanted to, but I don't have the necessary administrative infrastructure to support it. Just some basic background. ISAC actually started in July 2006 here in Turkey. At least that was the original idea. I was sitting in a meeting, and the local HOU people were teachers and astronomers, amateurs and so on, were lamenting the fact that they no longer had access to data. I looked across the table, and there was Bob Holmes. He owns an observatory. There were 5 or 6 teachers who had been doing who had done the HOU for about 15 years and were experts at it. And I had a computer. Actually, I had Blackboard at Hardin-Simmons University. So I said, well, I think I can do something. And so in October of 2006, we started our first program and only had 5 participating schools at that time. It has since grown since October 2006 to over 300 schools located in more than 40 countries. And just as a summary, today students have discovered several hundred main belt asteroids, of which 261 have provisional designations. The one that I added is the Trojan that was discovered by the 2 Indian students announced when Chandra from space in New Delhi gave his presentation. That they've reached provisional designation. 13 of these have been cataloged and numbered by the International Astronomical Union. And I'll show you what that means. Here are the 13 in what we call the ISAC Discovery Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, if you look down this list, these were the original objects that have been identified and have been numbered and cataloged. And the students who did that, the school, the location, the date that it happened, the number that was assigned, and the teacher. As you look down that list, you'll recognize some people in this room. Tom Marin's group has a numbered asteroid. And so as a matter of fact, I meet with Tom after this meeting to decide what he wants to name it. I think it's named after his father. Bart? No. Some of you probably know Dwight Taylor. He's in Alaska. He has 2 of them. Hughes Pack is a longtime participant in the U.S. HOU. So is Glenn Reagan. Carl, remember Michael Cran, wherever Carl happens to be. He always walks out during my presentations. Denise Rothrock is sitting over there. She also has an asteroid that's numbered. And one of my students from Hardin-Simmons, some of you may have met him, Jeff Davis, has a numbered asteroid. So these are the 13 so far, and this number is growing. As a matter of fact, by the time we get, you'll notice that we're talking about the 2007 discoveries. It takes about 3 to 6 years before an asteroid that's initially discovered becomes numbered. It goes through a long process. Basically, it has to be observed a sufficient number of times to fully quantify the orbit. And so it takes a while to do that. So we're just now getting the 2007 asteroids. We have an even more 2008 asteroids in the queue, and even more 2009 and 2010 asteroids. So we expect this number to be growing into the 50s and 60s over the next 2 or 3 years. Now these are our collaborators. As of today, these are our permanent collaborators: Hardin-Simmons University, ARI, Astronomical Research Institute in Westfield, Illinois, Lawrence Hall of Science through the Hands-On University at UC Berkeley, Global Hands-On Universe, STARRS Observatory Network in Margaretville, California, Charleston State University in Stephenville, Texas, and finally Astrometrica, located, it's a software package we use, located in Linz, Austria. But we also have special project collaborators that include the following: the Fox Telescope Project out of Wales, the Panoramic Survey Telescope and Rapid Response System at the University of Hawaii, better known as STARRS, the National Astronomical Observatories of China, the Chinese Academy of Sciences. We tested out a pilot program, and now we're talking about using another telescope at that facility, Hongfin's group. Astronomers Without Borders is our latest collaborator, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're going to be doing with them during Global Astronomy Month. And the NASA Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, NASA WISE, we assisted with their EPO program, as we played an important role in that project that ran from December of 2009 until just earlier this year, as I recall. Just as a general overview, this is how it works. It's actually pretty simple. One of our data sources, this is one of 4 that we have, will produce images of a series of targets, and they'll come in sets of 3, essentially sets of 3. And it will be in the same field of view taken over a 1-hour time period from the first to the last image. Somewhere along the ecliptic, typically, where he's trying to bring about asteroids. We put those into a folder on our website. Now I'm showing you here Blackboard, but we now have our own website where we do this. Each school has its own folder, and they participate in a campaign that runs anywhere from 5 to 6 weeks. And each school gets its own set of images. They download those images in the morning, and they use Astrometrica then to do the astrometry to search for and find the asteroids. Now, 1 or 2 things will happen depending upon what they report back to us. They report back to us there's a discovery of what they suspect is a discovery of an asteroid. There's a procedure we follow. If there's not, then we just report their findings directly to the Minor Planet Center. But if there's a discovery lurking in their images, then the Minor Planet Center requires that you do a second observation of that discovery within about 7 to 10 days. And so we have 4 sites that do that for us. One of those is the STARRS Observatory Network, and so we send them a request for them to image the follow-ups, and we go through this process one more time. They'll produce 3 images for the follow-up. We'll bring it into, sometimes we have a school do this with us, sometimes we do it by ourselves, depending upon what the circumstances may be. And then once that second observation is made, that is also reported to the Minor Planet Center, and then that confirms the discovery. And that puts the discovery into provisional status, and that's where it stays for anywhere from 3 to 6 years until additional observations are made by the sky surveys around the world to quantify that orbit. And then it becomes numbered and officially placed in the catalog. And then the students can name it. And so at that point, they've got 10 years in which they can name that asteroid. These are our data channels. Our primary data channel is the Bob Holmes Observatory located here in Illinois. Right now, he has the 24-inch and 32-inch prime focus telescopes that he uses to gather data. He's now building, will complete sometime this summer, a 50-inch telescope and begin gathering primarily NEO observations off of that using that scope. We also have a 1.8-meter PS1 telescope in the Haleakala, Maui. That's Pan-STARRS, and I'll show you more about Pan-STARRS here in a moment. We have used the Fox Telescope North and the Fox Telescope South in campaigns, and more recently, we've used the 60-90-centimeter Schmidt located at the Jinglong Station of the National Astronomical Observatories of China. So these are 4 data sources that we have, this being our primary. This is also an important one, and then the other 2 data sources. Now, to give you a sense about what they provide, Bob's facility in Westfield, Illinois, can serve 30 schools per campaign cycle. That's because he has two scopes. It turns out that so can Pan-STARRS. Pan-STARRS is set up so we can serve 34 schools in the campaign cycle because his images are huge. His images I'll talk about in a moment are over 1 billion pixels in size. And so we cut them down, we partition them down into 64 sub-images, packages, and send those out to the schools. 10 schools can be served using the Fox instrument, and up to 15 schools can be used and served using the National Astronomical Observatories in China. Campaign cycles, this is how it works. At least from 2006 until this December, that's going to change come January. We divided the year up into 86-week time periods that we call campaign cycles. And any one campaign cycle with all 4 data channels running at the same time, we can serve up to a maximum of 87 schools at once. We've never reached that maximum number, but we did in this past spring have ARI, PS1, and Xinglong data channels running, and we had 75 schools. We got close. That really taxed the system. So we're going to need additional infrastructure to support that, particularly since we want to raise this up to the full 87 and be serving 1,000 schools a year instead of 300. Currently, our annual demand essentially depends upon the ability to provide data through ARI and PS1, and that's essentially the maximum number of schools. Those are our 2 primary data sources. But from January, from January 2012 to December of 2014, if we receive funding from NASA through the University of Hawaii, we project the demand for additional spaces in ISAC will increase about 85 schools per year. And that would just be United States, U.S. schools. The international demand is even greater. Now, to accommodate this growth, what we're doing is we're changing from the 6-week format to a 5-week format, and that will allow us then to have 10 campaign cycles per year. And that will add an additional 60 slots for the schools and raise our maximum number up to about 450 schools, almost halfway to the halfway mark, or to reach 1,000. And here's how it breaks down based upon the data source, ARI data source, and STARRS. And Charlton stated the new data source that I didn't list earlier that's coming online. And then don't currently have any plans for FTN and Xinglong. But that's how this thing splits up into reaching halfway towards our goal of 1,000 schools.
When is Charlton coming on?
We're testing this summer already some survey images with them, and they're building a reference library for a supernova program that we want to start. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. I expect them to start sometime this fall.
How many your images are shared by how many schools now? I mean, say one set of one image, or set of 3 images.
Each school gets its own set of images, and each school receives anywhere from 3 to 5 image sets per week, depending upon the mood and the weather and so on.
How come they don't want to share it with? How come they couldn't share it with 10 schools? The same image set. Have them collaborate.
We just didn't set it up that way. Now we have tried collaborations. We tried collaborations twice. We tried it with the Fox telescope, where we paired UK schools with US schools, and we tried it also, and that didn't work very well. And we've also tried it through Pan-STARRS, where we link international schools with U.S. schools, primarily German schools with U.S. schools. And we only had one successful collaboration where they actually sat down and did
we have a world collaboration expert here, Bonnie, putting it seems to me that data flow is a big problem handling all this, getting new images. I mean, if you could expand without breaking down or, bringing the data flow system to its needs, this might be a way to reach more schools without, hurting you in some way.
That's true.
One of the problems I think we run into is different countries, they have different protocols. So what they do, schools that are collaborating with at a horrendous time, being able to get a committee of people in the town or whatever it was to allow us to do it. And I mean, I tried over and over again, and it just seemed like the bureaucracy in some places might be very difficult. And that's what we need to be aware of. You got to work those out to take some time.
Now, the 2 schools that were successful were longtime ISAC participants, and one was in Poland, the other was in, one was in Brazil, and the other was in California. In fact, I made an important discovery as a part of the campaign.
I'm sorry, Mr. Poland, Brazil. Where is Brazil?
Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo? San Carlos.
And the other was Glenn Reagan out of Cordova High School in California. This is a breakdown of what we're anticipating with the during the year 2012. Pan-STARRS, kind of interesting story how this started. We had originally were participants in a grant that Pan-STARRS wrote with Carl and myself and Johns Hopkins and MRO out of New Mexico and UT Arlington. It was a whole plethora, a whole group of people. To NASA for an EPO project that would place or do training workshops through science museums, and ISAC would play a very small part of that. When the reviewers came back, one of their primary complaints was they didn't believe these massive images, which are 1.6 or so billion pixels, could be used for this purpose. And so the grant that's one of the reasons the grant got turned down. So I waited about 3 or 4 months, and I contacted the project director, Dr. Wilbur Jett, and said, I think NASA's wrong. I think we can, in fact, do this. And I'm asking you to give us a chance. Carl and I had a conference call with him last spring, and he said, okay, we'll give you a chance. And so during last summer, a couple of graduate students and I worked out the technical details and delivered 2 campaigns, one in October with 32 schools and another in the March time frame with another 32 or so schools. And now we have a second grant before NASA that we hope will be funded that will allow us to expand the use of Pan-STARRS images even more. And as I say, the second purpose then was to demonstrate to NASA, the reviewers, that PS1 images could in fact be used in such an EPO program. And so we did a total of 48 schools, and we had schools coming from Brazil, Bulgaria, Germany, Poland, Taiwan, Turkey, and the United States participated in these 2 campaigns. What's interesting about those images, we only get 1 image a week, or 1 set of images a week that we break down into 64 parts by sub-images. We discover as many images in 1 week in the PS1 data as we do an entire campaign in the ARI data.
Yeah, asteroids.
It's asteroids. They're just all over the place. Now, that's good news and bad news. The good news is we discover lots of asteroids. The bad news is they're very, very faint in many instances, and unless you're intentionally looking for them, the sky surveys have a hard time picking them up. So that was the lesson that we learned during our first campaign, and so we have done some work on dealing with those follow-ups that I'll show you here in a moment. But in these 2 campaigns, students made over 500 preliminary discoveries, and of which only 24 were observed a second time and converted to provisional discoveries. As I say, 1 week of PS data is equivalent to using 6 weeks of ARI data. In fact, let me show you some PS1 data. These actually come as 4 images. These images are taken over a period of 1 hour. These 2 images are taken 15 minutes apart. Those are 15 minutes apart. But it's 1 hour from the first set to the first doublet to the last doublet. And these are, the cameras actually made up, I call it 60 flip cameras, but there's 60 silicon chips here that make up this massive camera. And these are the boundaries between those chips. And occasionally you'll see some masking. That's national security masking to mark out the spy satellite that the U.S. Air Force has up there. But this is these are some images that were used by students in the October campaign. So to show you that how easy it is to make discoveries, let me first lay down a plate solution. So this is Astrometrica. seconds to do this, unless I'm not on the internet.
You are on.
Yeah, I have to do this. Here we go. There's the plate solution. This is some information that tells us how good that solution is and some other information. Now I'm going to lay down the MPC asteroid database, orbital database, and that will go in and identify any known asteroids that are in that field of view and mark them for us. And what the students look for are those that aren't marked. Okay, that's laid down. And now I'm going to simultaneously line them and blink them. And here it is. So the students can, on these data, I recommend them manually search them, look across this image from the pan-star, looking for anything that moves. Now, if I just stop this and show you about the background, let me just click on the background. Background is like 22nd magnitude. We've had some images from pan-stars that were 23rd magnitude background. And so the students systematically scan across looking for anything that moves. I've looked at this prior to coming here, so I know where these things are located. Is anything moving? Okay. Here's looks like some national security masking. This one is a known asteroid. You notice it has a red box around it, and so this one is already known to the Minor Planet Center.
It's way too bright.
Yeah.
How about lower right here?
Lower right.
Lower right. See where the strip is? Very, very bottom. No, fine. No, right there. Is that moving a little? It seems progressive for me.
Well, it might be. Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure. I didn't see that one. Let's get over a little bit further. Benny. Here, I'll put it right smack dab in the center. Yeah, here's one here that's moving across. It looks like it goes behind this boundary between these two chips. But notice that doesn't have a red box around it. So that means it's not presently in the Minor Planet Center database, so that's a potential discovery. So the student stops the blink, located, and then just clicks on the target, which is almost 21st magnitude, 20.8. And we'll put something in GHOU 0001. And then you go to the next slide and do it again. Same object, so it's the same name. And advance it. Let's see, maybe. Yeah, it's already behind this. So I got 3 good measurements. And then you start the blink again and look across it. There are actually 2 or 3 other asteroids that are in the state. This is one of the favorite ones. But to find an almost 21st magnitude asteroid like this that appears very distinctly in the data is quite a spectacular feat. Now, what that does in the background is that generates a report in a required format by the Minor Planet Center. Looks like this. So the 3 measurements we took are listed here. Then the school sends us this report, and then we assemble that into a single report, official report, that we send to the Minor Planet Center from ISAC. Now we do have the grant proposal. We should hear on that within the next 30 to 60 days. But these are our partners this time around. It's not as extensive as it was in the original proposal. The University of Hawaii, of course, the Dallas Museum of Nature and Science, Astronomical Society Pacific is part of the project, ISAC, and then the Abilene Independent School District. Abilene Independent School District, where I live in Abilene, Texas, had to be involved because at the university where I work, I'm not allowed to accept federal funding. And so I had to route it through somebody else, and then they're going to hire me as a contractor or consultant to do the work. But if we do get the funding, what I intend to do then is to hire a half-time assistant, and then also contract out the data reduction to our ISAC volunteer in England, and I'll receive some funds for travel and working within the program. This is the person who will take over, process the images, and interact with the schools, doing the stuff that I'm doing now. As a part of the grant, NASA will run 4 Pan-STARRS asteroid search campaigns per year. 3 of the campaigns will serve 100 schools per year, and the 4th will serve 32 international schools and colleges. Now, I mentioned to you follow-ups. We learned from our experience in the pilot program, Pan-STARRS program in October of last year, that we needed to conduct our own follow-ups. So I've gone out and obtained resources to do that. I have this facility. We've actually used this facility for some time. It's the STARRS Observatory Network. We're given about 2 hours at each cycle on FTN out of Maui, and then here's a 32-inch telescope out of Charleston State University, who's also helping us do follow-ups and some other programs. And if we have an interesting discovery, something other than the main belt asteroid, like a slow mover or a fast mover, then we can make special requests to Bob's facility here in Westfield, and also to Magdalena Ridge Observatory in Socorro, Mexico, where they've got their 2.4-meter telescope. They've done 1 or 2 follow-ups for us upon request. And in a nutshell, what we want to do is when we ran without these resources, just relied upon the sky surveys, we only got 1 provisional. And when we implemented this, we reached 24 provisionals over that 1 campaign. And our goal then is to do anywhere between 28 and 40 provisional discoveries, transform preliminaries into provisionals. And we almost achieved that goal with the follow-up resources that we implemented during the 2nd campaign, which was in March of this year.